Two sellers, same industry, both sell for $1.5 million the same year. One nets $1.1 million after taxes, the other nets $890,000. Same deal size, same year, $210,000 difference. Nobody lied, nobody made a mistake. One seller understood deal structure before they got to the table, the other didn't. This is the conversation most sellers never have until it's too late to change anything. And it's one of the most expensive gaps in the entire process. Here's how deal structure actually works. In most small business sales, you're either selling the assets of your business or the entity itself. Those are two completely different transactions with completely different tax outcomes. An asset sale is the most common structure for small businesses. The buyer isn't buying your company, they're buying pieces of it. Equipment, customer relationships, brand, goodwill, inventory. Your legal entity stays behind with you. The buyer gets what they want and leaves behind everything they don't. Old liabilities, potential legal issues, anything messy. From a buyer's perspective, this is almost always the preferred structure. From yours, it's often the most expensive one. A stock sale, or for an LLC, a membership interest sale, transfers the entity itself. The buyer steps into your shoes as the owner of the company. Everything transfers: contracts, history, relationships, and liabilities. Buyers resist this because they inherit everything. Sellers often prefer it because the tax treatment is generally cleaner. Here's where the money lives. In an asset sale, the purchase price gets allocated across different categories of assets, and each category gets taxed differently. Goodwill is generally taxed at long-term capital gains rates. Depending on your income, that's roughly 15 to 20%. And that's not terrible, not considering it's the IRS. Equipment that's been depreciated gets taxed differently through something called depreciation recapture. That amount gets taxed at ordinary income rates, roughly 37% depending on your bracket. Covenant not to compete, the agreement you sign saying you won't start a competing business, is also taxed at ordinary income. So here's the problem. The way the purchase price gets allocated across those categories is negotiated in the contract. Buyers will almost always propose an allocation that pushes more toward equipment and covenants because they get to step up their basis and depreciate those assets after they purchase. And that's great for them, but it's expensive for you. If you're getting value from this, subscribe. This is a part of Exit Ready, my free YouTube course, and this is exactly the kind of thing nobody tells sellers until they're already sitting across from a buyer who's been through this 20 times. Here's what that looks like in a real deal. The seller has a $1.5 million asset sale. The buyer proposes an allocation of $300,000 to equipment, $200,000 to a covenant not to compete, $1 million to goodwill. The seller signs without running the tax math. Here's the tax outcome. The $1 million in goodwill gets taxed at capital gains, roughly 20%, so $200,000 in tax. The $300,000 in equipment triggers depreciation recapture, taxed at ordinary income rates, say 35%. So $105,000 in tax. The $200,000 covenant, also ordinary income, another $70,000. Total tax bill approximately $375,000. Now, the same deal, same total price with a different allocation negotiated by a seller who came in prepared. More toward goodwill, less toward equipment and covenant. The same $1.5 million deal produces a tax bill closer to $280,000. That's a $95,000 difference from one conversation with a CPA before the deal started. Not from negotiating harder on price, from understanding what you were agreeing to before you agreed to it. And in a stock sale, if you qualify and a buyer agrees to it, your proceeds are generally taxed at capital gains rates across the board. No depreciation recapture, no ordinary income on the covenant. For sellers with significant depreciated equipment, a stock sale can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars more in after-tax proceeds on the exact same purchase price. Which is exactly why buyers push back on stock sales and why you need to understand this before you're sitting across from someone who's already run the numbers on their side. Before you talk to a single buyer, ask your CPA to model two scenarios: your estimated after-tax proceeds in an asset sale versus a stock sale for your specific business and tax situation. That analysis tells you how much the structure negotiation is worth and gives you a position before you need one. The Exit Ready Vault has the deal structure tax impact worksheet. It's a side-by-side comparison of asset sale versus stock sale versus membership interest with the purchase price allocation table and questions to ask your CPA at that conversation. The link is in the description. That's course 1 of Exit Ready, Know Your Number. You now understand how your valuation is calculated, what drives it up or down, how deal structure determines your tax bill, and what sale readiness actually means before you step into the process. The next course is Get Your House in Order, where we go specific on every category of preparation, document by document, so you can close your gaps before a buyer finds them. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it when it drops.